Now on to step 2, schedule your success. I'm a firm believer that failing to plan is planning to fail. And that might be the project manager part of me coming out there, but I do believe it's true. Because as I mentioned earlier, it's one thing to say that you want to achieve something, it's another to actively make the time to take the action to achieve it. And we want to set you up for success. So it's right that we're going to schedule that success for you. And what can also happen is when we have a big goal, a life-changing goal, it can seem so far in the distance and it can almost seem unattainable because it's so big, it's so different to where we are now. That can be a big reason for why people give up on their goals, is because it seems unattainable, because it's so different from where they are now. And what we're going to do in this step is we're going to break down your goal so that you are focusing on manageable bite-sized pieces that are leading you to your bigger long-term goal. And what we're going to do is remove overwhelm, because what we want to create is confidence in yourself that you can and will achieve this. So what I want you to do for this step, first of all, I don't know who's heard of chunking. It's a term that we use in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And if a client that I'm working with is very focused on the detail of something and is losing the bigger perspective, or if they're focusing on so far in the future that they're getting overwhelmed, we use the chunking technique to bring them back into a neutral place. So in terms of the corporate world, this would be like taking something either very high level, what you might be presenting to the CEO, or taking something very low level, what you might be presenting to a developer that needs to understand the absolute ins and outs of everything. So we would either chunk up or chunk down. So what I want you to do with your goals is I want you to chunk them down, because often what happens is we're too high level with the goal. And so what we will do in this step is, if you take what one thing it is that you want to focus on for this exercise, and as I say, you can repeat these strategies time and again. So just choose one thing that you're focusing on, and then I want you to chunk it down. So I want you to say to yourself, okay, so this is my ultimate goal. What needs to happen in order for me to achieve that? So for me, when I decided to move to another country, that was my ultimate goal. And then to chunk it down, what needed to happen was, well, I needed to decide what area I wanted to live in. I needed to find out in terms of visas, working permits, how that kind of thing, the logistics of it. I needed to find myself another job. I needed to find another home. I needed to find out how much it was going to cost me to actually move. And so I chunked that down. So I had that layer. And then what you can do is you can then chunk down further. So you can take each of those mini goals and say, right, okay, so if we take the example of me needing to find another job, okay, so I then took that goal and focused on that. Okay, so what needs to happen for me to find another job? And I broke it down further. And that's what I want you to do with your goal. And what that's going to create is manageable, bite-sized pieces that you can focus on one at a time, but you're going to have confidence in the fact that the action that you're taking is moving you forwards in the direction of your ultimate goal. So you're not going to be feeling overwhelmed with all of these different things that you need to do, because you're just going to be focusing on one thing at a time. And what you will find is that your motivation and your drive is really going to increase, because you're constantly going to be seeing that you are making progress moving forwards. So chunk down your goals into manageable bite-sized pieces. Then what I would love for you to do, if it's not something you're already working with, is use a 90-day cycle. So look at your goals that you've chunked down and ask yourself realistically, what do you think is achievable within 90 days out of everything that you've chunked down? And it might be, do you know what, it's just one mini goal is achievable within 90 days. Because again, set yourself up for success. Be realistic in terms of what time you have available to you outside your full-time job, your family, the time that you need for your hobbies, for your interests, and look at how much time you have available and then decide what is realistic for your 90 days. I'm not saying don't stretch yourself, because I am a believer in pushing ourselves, but I want you to set yourself up for success. So be as realistic as you can. So choose what you think is achievable within 90 days. And when you get to the end of the 90 days, you're then going to come back to your bigger picture, and then you're going to then look at your next 90 days. So it's not that you're saying the rest of it you're not going to do, it's just you're choosing your focus for the next 90 days. Then break that down even further. So you've got your 90-day focus, break it down into 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. So what do you want to achieve at the end of 30 days? End of 60 days, and at the end of the 90 days. And what that's going to do is break it down even smaller for you. So each time we're taking one of these steps, we're making it seem more and more achievable, because it's achievable anyway. It's just our mind plays tricks on us to convince us that it's not. So we're now retraining our mind to see that it is possible and it is achievable. So once you've got your 30-day goals, just take that 1 month that you've got ahead of you and say, okay, for me to achieve my 30-day goal, what can I focus on week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, however many weeks are in that month. And then set yourself mini goals again. So then you can confidently know that at the end of the 30 days, you're going to have achieved your goal and you've broken it down over the weeks. You can look at what you've got on certain weeks and make sure again that it's feasible for you to complete that action. And then the last step that I want you to do is one of my favourite, and it's one that I see people have big shifts happen for them when they implement this strategy. I want you to create for yourself a reward system. Now, for those of you that have children, you may have heard of the reward chart or the star chart. With my partner's 2 young children, we have a star chart on the fridge. When there is behaviour that we're encouraging, they get a star, they get 10 stars. We take them to the toy shop with a budget and they get to pick a toy. This works massively with the children, and it works just as well with us adults. Now, I'm not saying that you need to put a star chart on your fridge, although if you want to, you absolutely can. But what I want for you to do is give yourself that same reward system, and instead of it being for good behaviour, it's going to be for achieving each of those goals that you've set for yourself. So what I'd love for you to do is, alongside having broke down your goals, having your 90-day focus, your month's focus, I want you to write down your reward system and what rewards you will give yourself when you achieve your goal for that week, your goal for that month, and when you achieve your goal for that 90-day cycle.